Welcome to Loyalize,
a podcast brought to you by D Squares about customer relationships and retention. I'm Yasmin.
and I'm Bob, and on this podcast we invite world-leading experts to dive into the world of building strong loyalty.
I'm very thrilled to welcome Mark Ross-Smith on the Loyalize Podcast, the CEO of Loyalty Status Co., an avid author and airline loyalty pioneer. Welcome, Mark. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Hi, Yasmin. It's great to be with you today. Looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. And could you just give me a little bit of a brief or like a background on what Loyalty Status Co. does?
Yeah, sure. We started in 2020, the worst time in history to start a travel company. No one was flying. So we're known as StatusMatch. So in the travel industry is StatusMatch, and we were quite successful in getting off the ground in the worst time in history to launch a company. I launched with Frontier Airlines in the USA. Did really well. That then expanded out around a bunch of really big campaigns, high visibility, above the line stuff, and sort of fast forward today, we run a bunch of different products. It's all about acquiring, engaging, and retaining high value customers with airlines and hotels. So it's very firmly in the travel space. We work with 27 different airline, hotel, and travel retail brands, and we're growing, doing pretty well.
That's cool. I think what's really cool about Loyalty Status Co. or StatusMatch is the idea of treating the best customers even better and giving travelers back the power over their own rewards, as opposed to like just sort of disrupting that closed loop model.
We've got a bit of a focus on the higher value customers. You know, the top 5% of airline and hotel customers. Like, these are people that have status. They've got your silver, gold, platinum. You know, this is top 5%. That top 5% is driving up to something like 30% of total revenue for these brands. You know, got this small audience. You know, they're spending what we call the right type of money. They're typically in, you know, like a high yield economy or business or first class. So that, you know, they're spending, you know, good money. They tend to book their travel, you know, a week or 2 weeks before. Things just cost more at that point because pricing in travel goes up and down. And so, yeah, we've got a big focus around helping airlines unlock the value around these members and trying to monetize them in new ways beyond the normal points, miles, and credit cards and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, airlines and loyalty sort of go way back, don't they? I mean, that was like the first template to like modern loyalty programs that we see today. So it's cool to see sort of, and I want to touch on that more with you later on about why it still matters now and what sort of the predictions that you have for, because I know you also have a knack for reading crystal balls. So I will ask you about that. So this episode, as I said, I just want to focus on the magic and the mechanics of travel loyalty. But before we jump into that, I also wanted to ask you about your personal journey to loyalty.
I really got into airline loyalty around 2011. I was a frequent flyer, flying all around the world, conferences and meeting, you know, that kind of stuff. I was one of the, you know, the top members at Qantas, and I was living in Australia at the time. And Qantas had just announced the launch of a new tier in their loyalty program, Platinum One. At the time, they made this big deal about it. You know, big launch event, parties, invited everyone, like really over the top stuff. These were the top, you know, top customers, yeah. And the day that it officially launched this tier, I get in my seat on the plane, and the manager comes down the aisle, and the guy next to me, manager's like, "Oh, welcome, Mr. whatever his name was. You know, thank you for being a loyal member." You know, he had this elaborate greeting, and then the manager says, "Oh, well, it's great to have you back, Mr. Ross-Smith." Like, it was like, what happened? I got this lousy greeting, and this guy next to me got this amazing thing. Me knowing that I'm one of the top, you know, of this new tier. And what had happened is, operationally, the people that were of this top tier were flagged as a lesser priority than other people, and so they'd kind of got it mixed up where in the tiers. And anyway, I told Qantas about it's just some feedback. And anyway, fast forward a week, they're like, you know, sorry, you know, got something cool for you, and they Qantas invited me on a private joy flight with John Travolta and his 707 aircraft. This is sort of gone back 12, 13 years, right? It was like maybe 20 people on the flight. It was like some of the top customers of the airline. Just a fun joy flight over Sydney for a couple hours, champagne, you know, have a lot of fun taking selfies with John Travolta. all this kind of stuff. And on that flight was a bunch of people from management at the airline. And, I got talking to them. I thought, hey, this is pretty interesting. And there was obviously, I think it was like the top 5 or 6 customers at the airline were on the flight as well. And I obviously get chatting to them. And this is, it's incredible networking because these people are like captains of industry and CEOs and stuff like that, right? So incredible networking. And that's what really sort of got me thinking, hey, like there's a lot of money in this airline loyalty stuff. Like, I want to work for an airline. Like this is what I want free flights. I want flights like this. Like, why not, right? I want free flights. I love the status and, connect with, some of the smartest people in the world because they all travel for business, right? So that's kind of what really got me into it. And then, fast forward from there, I, ended up, a few years later, actually running a loyalty program at Malaysia Airlines. So the sort of the vision I had to work in there and get free flights actually did happen. And so that's how I got into airline loyalty.
Wow, I love that story. It just shows like the power of how to make people feel special and then what that does to them. Like you're like an advocate for airline loyalty now because of the experience that you've had, which is cool. And a magical moment as well.
Yeah, I think the bit unique in that, I got a big experience of I've had airline status for 20 years with various airlines, so since I was my teenager, effectively. So since then and now, so I've got being a freaking real business traveler, doing all that stuff, and then, actually working for the airline on the other side. So sort of got the lens of both. And then, a lot of the stuff we do now is kind of like, I call it's like in the middle of that Venn diagram, right? That's where I call the magic kind of happens because you can see both perspectives, both have their, pros and cons, and somewhere in the middle is where all the magic happens.
Does that sort of like rewarding still happen?
Everyone likes the idea of there's something magical out there that could happen to them on a day-to-day basis. And airlines and hotels, I think, are in this unique space where they can deliver on this. Like it's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you think about, you go to the airport, you're presumably all excited. You're going somewhere, you're on a plane for a while. You're away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Maybe going on a family trip. Maybe it doesn't really matter. It's people are always in high spirits. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that elevated emotional state is the perfect time for airlines to really like lay it on thick and like schmooze you and like really wow you. Like, what could they do that really just like, wow, I didn't expect that, but I kind of did expect something. But, so I think airlines are really well positioned to do some of that. I did when I worked at Malaysia Airlines some years ago, the office was at the airport. Yeah. And so every day I would go to and from the airport to work. And, as part of that, I would walk through the terminal, so it's, walk past passengers and this kind of stuff. And being a total nerd, and, you leave the office late, it could be 7, 8 o'clock some days, sometimes I get a bit bored. What can I do to make my life a bit more interesting as I go home? And so I thought, would it be cool? Like what would I want, right? As a traveler, why am I not bringing some of this magic to the people? Why not give them the things that I want? Because if I'm doing what I would want, like they probably want similar sort of stuff. So actually there's a big article you read online about it, how I went and basically bought a bunch of got over chocolates and started giving them out to our silver, gold and platinum just randomly. Like I was hunting people down, like where can I find a gold member?
Wow.
You go to the lounge, you find someone, and I was just giving chocolates to say, hey, thank you for being a loyal customer. This is for you. Like, there's no catch. Just here you go, have a great flight, and enjoy it. And they're always like, wow, this is unexpected. I remember there was one gentleman that this was really late that night. I'd given him these chocolates, and he stood up and he's shaking my hand, and he's a bit teary, and I'm like, what have I done, right? And he's like, thank you. This really means a lot to me. I've been flying the airline for decades now. He's like a gold member, right? Like really loyal. He's going to India, part of the Doctors Without Borders program. And he's like, I've been really loyal. And this is the first time I've met someone from the airline. It's not like a frontline staff. I've been really loyal these years, and this is totally unexpected. And I'm leaving Malaysia today for a year. And it just meant a lot to it. It was like the right thing at the right time, hit an emotional, internal thing within him. And, I was really appreciative of that. And so, that kind of made his day. It made mine as well. So we all won there. So I think, it's, you can't go giving boxes of chocolates to everyone. it gets expensive. But I think airlines can do things like that. They can unlock some magic within people's lives that other brands just can't do as well.
Yeah. I think, well, the way that you mentioned, just us mentioning the word magic and the context of the airport, that's where it's like a gold mine of emotions, I guess. Like, you don't know, like you were saying, that this guy, like you wouldn't be able to tell this guy is leaving Malaysia for a year and is going through this huge change. Just like any other passengers, they could be going to visit family or coming back from family. And the emotionally charged everyone is at the airport. I think it's really cool that airline loyalty or travel loyalty can use that in like a positive way and drive that forward and create that magic, like you say. And when you were saying it's about offering something unexpected, but also that sort of like meets that expectation of something happening, I think there's like a nice sort of equation there.
When you're in an emotional state, right, you're more susceptible to stuff around you, right? And so in an airport, typically in this heightened emotional state. And so when something good happens or bad, preferably good, when something good happens, your subconscious is kind of more open to suggestion, and it just sort of flies into your brain. You retain it more, right? That's why everyone somewhere has got a good story about flying.
Yeah,
typically it's the first time they ever fly. When I was a kid, my parents took us to and did it, and you've got these great memories of it. It's because you're in this sort of different state. Something good happened at the same time that embedded in its subconscious, and it sticks there forever. And then you're forever telling everyone this amazing story about how you love the little candies or the coloring in books on the airline that you first flew, right?
So I guess what I want to ask you is, why now? I mean, why is airline loyalty still, how much more can it evolve in like a positive way from now?
I think it's already doing a fabulous job, to be fair. Over the years, there's been a lot of focus on like co-brand credit cards, points or miles earning. So people think, I earn my miles, I can redeem for a flight that I don't want to pay cash for it. I want to try business class. I'll redeem my miles for this. Yeah. And that aspirational travel journey, that is a really good story. Right, this is what a lot of people aspire to, and that system has worked really well for about the last 30 years. Credit cards really sort of came into it about 20-ish years ago, and as unless you've been living under a rock the last 5 or 10 years, airlines make a lot of money from their financial service relationships from credit cards, selling points and miles to these institutions. Some airlines making billions of dollars from it. Some airlines are only profitable because of these relationships they have from the loyalty program. And I think all that is fantastic, and that will continue as it has been. Sort of, this is a bit of the crystal ball you're talking about. One of the things I see is a move. We are seeing this as a move into status, right? So points and miles is everyone. Status is the top 5%. And, people, and this is customers in all loyalty programs. Your top customers typically can spend more. And actually, to be fair, an airline, they want to spend more. And if you don't have status, there's a lot of stuff you can buy. But if you've got status, like a silver, gold, platinum, it's all free, right? You're getting it as a perk of your tier. So it's a bit weird. You got the people that are spending the most, and you're not really selling them anything because they're getting it all as part of it, right? So what we're saying is these people, they want to engage more, right? They understand the program, they understand the tier, they understand what they're getting, they want more of it because status is pretty addictive, let's be honest. And airlines not really selling them stuff. So I think that we're already seeing this the last couple of years. I think there's a very big trend towards creating new loyalty products, like loyalty within loyalty, I'll say. Like subscription programs, one-time boost benefits, stuff like this. You just pay everything, like paid stuff, just because the people interested in this, a high propensity to pay, typically they've got more money as well, and they want to buy stuff. So, if someone's wants to give you money, take it. As long as you're giving them something of value, which I think airlines do very well. So we're definitely seeing a trend in that direction.
Yeah, more paid perks and sort of the subscription model. What's the word? Overtaking. The subscription model sort of overtaking traditional or like instant free perks, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think the traditional model will go away. I think it works really, really well for airlines. I think there's other stuff that can run. It's like it's on a separate track. It's going the same direction, but it's just for a different subset of the audience. Not everyone wants to pay extra to double their miles on the next flight.
Right.
But there's a percentage that do, and that percentage that do, when you talk about, it might be 5 or 10%, that could be 5 or 10% of 50, 100 million people, right? So suddenly the dollar numbers are significant enough where it's worth kind of doing.
It's a great example of, because, there's this debate of like value versus discounts. And I think with the higher tiers, like even though things are free and there's discounted things, but just the consistency of that sort of adds to the experience, which trumps discounts.
Ironically, the people with status don't really care about discounts. Discounts drive people that, infrequent flyers. They're on Google Flights and they're like analyzing everything. How do I save an extra $16 to go to, whatever?
Yes.
I'll take 8 stopovers to get there. Whereas the business travel is just like, get me on the direct flight. I need to be there 9 a.m. Monday for my meeting. Like whatever it is, I'm on that flight, so price is kind of lost on these people, I think.
Yeah. That's interesting you mentioning that actually, because I know there's a huge cult around miles hacking or points hacking when it comes to airline loyalty. And do you think that hurts or helps loyalty programs? And second question would be, what's your ultimate tip and trick for miles? Let's keep the conversation going. You can now join our community on LinkedIn for more exclusive content, insights, and discussions. Simply search for Loyalize on LinkedIn.
I don't think it hurts. I think it's probably net benefit to the industry. It brings awareness to possibilities that are out there. Like if you go on YouTube and just look at how many people have done a review of Emirates first class and had a shower on the plane and like this kind of stuff, right? The amount of branding that the airline has got out of that is phenomenal, right? And these people are not in that seat for free. Like they're one way or another, they're paying for it. It could be through points and miles. Sometimes it's cash, whatever, right? They're paying to get there. They're creating content that then makes the airline look amazing, right? This is stuff that the airline shouldn't do themselves either, right? You let the voice of the people sort of trump everything. And then, my biggest hack secret. I got two answers here. I mean, the ultimate hack is just make more money and just you don't have to worry about it, right? So
yeah,
there's that.
If only.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of laughed when I met my wife. She was cabin crew for Cathay Pacific, and part of her sales pitch to me, like here's why you should marry me. Part of it was like you get free flights for life, and it's not for life, but it was a short period in my life there where it was pretty cruisy. So the ultimate hack is just marry someone that works for an airline, or go work for an airline. Like that's the hack. Like this kind of, I'll just quick talk on the other. People that work at airlines typically are not members of their own loyalty program, because they are getting access to cheaper flights through staff benefits, right? Why do they need the points and miles? They don't need it, right? So whereas if you work at a in a retail environment or a corporate, you probably are using your own loyalty program. So so you're living and breathing it every day. In travel, less so, just because of the nature of. You think about it, if you work for an airline, you're probably not in a plane every week, and you're not paying for it, are you? Right? So not good or bad.
Marry into the industry. Noted.
Easy.
Just need to book more flights so then I can bump into more people.
There you go. I'm sure there's like an app for that.
I mean, there must be.
There's an idea for you.
Yeah.
Anyone listening? There's an idea, like an airline, like Tinder for the sky or something.
Ooh, nice. Sky Tinder, Cloud Tinder.
Sky Tinder. There we go.
Okay, so I'd love to jump into, this is a fun segment, our Would You Rather and Rapid Fire segment. So I have a few questions for you. Are you ready? Okay, so would you rather have unlimited lounge access for 1 year or a free upgrade every 4th flight?
Upgrade, totally.
Okay, how come?
Well, let's be fair, I'll probably get lounge access because my status, right? Status drives everything. So, I'm probably already in a lounge or have access. And it's pretty, you can buy access to a lounge. You can't. It's cheaper to buy lounge access as to buy an upgrade, especially on a long haul flight. And, an upgrade, think of like economy to business class, like that step in price difference between those two seats is significant. Whereas, worst case, I could pay $100 and go into lounge somewhere. So I think on net benefit, I'd rather the upgrade every 4 flights.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as well because of like the unexpected, expected thing as well. Like that mini surprise. Once you're there, you think you're going to be in a certain seat, but then actually, oh no, I'm going to be upgraded. So it's a nice little like special moment as well. So that makes sense. Okay. But would you rather a surprise perk every flight so like Wi-Fi or drinks or something, or one guaranteed free business class ticket a year that you can use anytime?
Free business class ticket.
Once.
Yeah, free business class. Because I'll make sure that free business class ticket is ultra long haul 15-hour trip, which is otherwise going to cost who knows how many thousands of dollars. And if I'm not already getting a free drink on a flight, I'm probably on the wrong airline.
Nice answer. Yep. Okay. Would you rather earn miles twice as fast or never pay change fees again?
That's twice as fast. I see more value in the currency than change fee. I paid 3 change fees recently, actually. Not crazy expensive, but miles, I can see the miles, right? And especially if it's a longer flight, that double miles could be like an extra 5 or 10,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Which then I can translate into real value when I redeem on something that I really want. Whereas a change fee is like, it's not really money I want to spend.
Yeah, that's true. But would you say like not paying for change fees, that sort of gives you more flexibility?
Not paying change fees isn't going to make me want to fly the airline more. Like it's a nice perk, but it was not driving my behavior. Whereas double miles, to some degree, would drive my behavior. Double tier miles, like double status credits or qualifying miles, this probably would be the number one thing that would drive people to do stuff. We run a bunch of this stuff for airlines, works really, really, really well to drive behavior. So if we change your question to be like qualifying miles, like everyone will choose this because it's such an amazing thing.
Okay, so let's do that then. Let's change the question. Qualifying miles, or
obviously qualifying.
Okay.
10 times out of 10, I choose that, and I reckon 95% of people would choose the same thing as well. Because you've got your gold status on airline. I don't want to lose it. Right, I want to make sure I lock it in for next year because I don't want to sit at the gate waiting for my flight. I don't want to be in the lounge. I want to check in at the business class counter when I'm flying economy. I want a better seat on the plane. When I'm sitting in my seat, I want the manager to come down and say, "Welcome back, Mr. or Smith. Here's a glass of champagne from business class today," even though I'm in row 97, with screaming kids everywhere. No one wants to lose their status, and so if I can earn my double qualifying miles to sort of lock that in, it's like insurance, right? It's a way to sort of make sure I'm going to keep it, and if I do it enough, maybe move up a tier as well, which unlocks even more perks. So I think vast majority of people would choose that as well. Everyone loves status. Who doesn't? Come on.
Yeah, that shows just how passionate you are about the right rewards. And you mentioned about behavior, rewards that sort of drive behavior. What else qualifies for a meaningful reward?
This is a good topic. Like waiving change fees to me is not a meaningful reward. It's like a nice to have. It's actually really logical. Like I can see the economist people at the airline going, wow, this is like a great benefit. Like we're giving them a $100 discount on change fees, and so they can get back home earlier and change their flight, and really logical,
but not magical.
There's no magic in that. There's the whole art science thing. The art is where all the interesting stuff happens, because if everyone did stuff based on logic, no one would ever buy a business or first class ticket ever, on trains, planes, boat, like cruise lines, anything. Everyone would just be in the absolute cheapest, because I need to get from here to here as fast and efficiently as possible. Whereas you've got people willing to pay 10 times more to be in a premium seat, cabin, room, whatever it is. They want the trip slowed down. They want more champagne. They want to enjoy the experience. They want all this stuff. Totally logical. So when people are willing to do crazy, irrational things like that, it's working. The program is doing what it's designed to do, which is drive incremental behavior of stuff that people shouldn't be doing, right?
I guess the rewards sort of need to, like we were saying earlier, like match like the whimsical part of traveling and being on a flight, being at the airport, like just that whole experience, like the whimsiness of it sort of drives it forward, which is such a nice. I love the way that you face that. When people are willing to do crazy, irrational things, that's when you know it's working.
Well, I was just looking at background here. Trust your crazy ideas. Like, that's where it's coming from. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of things the travel industry does really, really well on loyalty. There's also things that like other industries in loyalty do really, really well. If your airline gold status only really starts when you get to the airport. Mm-hmm. Between my home, when I wake up, I go have breakfast, I go out, see a friend, whatever, go to the airport. My gold status means nothing at that point.
You're just smart.
Exactly. I mean, I will tell my friends I've airline gold status. That's part of the bragging right to get, right? But mm-hmm. I would like to see more collaboration between like travel and non-travel brands in loyalty, and then make each other's loyalty proposition more relevant in the other ecosystem. So make airline status more relevant when I'm not in the air, mm-hmm. and then make Uber's probably a good example. They are pretty relevant already. Make them even more relevant when I'm at the airport or in the air somehow. I'd like to see more sort of cross-pollination like that. I think that would work out really well. If you lay a status on top of that, this is some real crazy magic stuff.
So that's something that you think the airlines need to implement more. What about, we spoke about status as one of your predictions. What other predictions do you have?
For travel?
Yeah.
If we look at the last 5 years in travel and use that as a basis to try and predict the next 5 years, I don't think much will change. Yeah, like I kind of touched on, there's been this big focus on points and miles and credit cards in airlines and hotels, just because there's a lot of money on it, right? 100% the biggest shift we're seeing is towards status and more stuff in status. Don't sound a broken record here, but that's really where it's going. There's a lot of different things around that. It's like adding new tiers, it's adding a tier between like 0 and a silver type tier, like a lower tier. It's adding like a super duper tier right at the top. It's adding, I think, to a point, partnerships with like non-air partners, other industries. I think this is where it's going, because ultimately it comes to if it sort of intuitively is good for the customer, it's probably good for the company as well. So the more pro customer these brands are in loyalty, the more it's going to kind of reflect back into some other metric that matters to the company: revenue, engagement, take up of a new product, selling more flights, selling more rooms, like whatever it is. It's always going to come back in some way. It's just sort of navigating around that to really crack it. And I'd really love to see more of that.
I love that. More of that symbiotic relationship. You were talking about your very special John Travolta moment. How about examples of magical moments you've seen or created?
Apart from giving out chocolates to passengers, I published this article a few years ago about how airlines. Are you familiar with like the 5 languages of love?
Yes.
Yeah, the book. Yeah, 30-year-old book, been around for a long time. It's got the 5 different languages, right? So it's like words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts,
and acts of service.
And so this article that I published was about how airlines are actually delivering on these 5 acts of love in a different way in the airline ecosystem. Right. So,
interesting.
And so think about if they really sort of double down on this, right? So things like gifts, right? It's a really simple thing. You get on your flight, you're sitting on your seat, and they, hey Yasmin, I know it's your birthday next week. Just want to get ahead, get a little, something for you, right? It's just a little cupcake. It says happy birthday. Like it's really like it's cheap, it's easy, but you weren't really expecting it, right? And it's a gift, right? And so if gifts is one of your, let's say everyone's got like 2. Of these 5 languages, 2 they really resonate with. If that's like one of yours, it's like the airline loves me, right? Like I feel the connection, I feel the bond here. I feel, wow. And you really can't explain it because it's an internal thing within you, and how you feel and how the guy next to you and the other guy, how everyone feels is all different, right? Acts of service, airline is kind of, making sure that glass of champagne in front of you is never empty. It's always top. They walk past, they see you had a sip straight there, pouring more in again, physical touch, is like it's shaking a hand, it's saying, "Hey, welcome back," or the little tap on the shoulder, like, "Hey, good to see you again." It's like such a small thing, costs nothing, right? So I think like you can kind of map these 5 things to stuff that airlines can do, and they're all really small, if not free or cheap, right? Airlines are kind of unconsciously doing a lot of this already, and I think that's why everyone's got a good memory somewhere in the back of their mind. There's at least one good memory about one good trip that they did somewhere, and it may well be linked to that somehow.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, all those things isolated are like small things, but then all together create this compounded force, I guess, that helps the customer feel that love and that special magical element, which perfectly segues into my final question. And I love asking this question. If you could define customer loyalty in a sentence or 3 words, I mean, you can choose. What would that be?
For travel, I would say it's driving irrational behavior.
Driving irrational
behavior. It's kind of irrational increment that drives incremental stuff for the airline. It doesn't necessarily be money, but it probably is, engagement, uptake, whatever it is. Yeah, definitely drive irrationality. Because if people start, they turn off their logical mind, it's like, what? It's kind of like, imagine you go to like a Krispy Kreme or something. You're buying a donut, right? And it's like $1 for the $2 for the donut, right? And then it's like, today I really want to spend $10 on exactly the same donut, right? It's a bit irrational, but I need to do it because I need to get my extra points for that or whatever. Imagine if you've got legions of customers doing that with a retail brand. Like, how crazy would that be, right? This happens in airlines every day and hotels. So this is one of the things that other brands can learn from travel is like, how do you get people to do totally irrational things they otherwise would never do, that drives incremental behavior that ultimately delivers on all the right metrics that you're measuring anyway? How do you do that?
It makes the customer happy, that makes the company happy. It's a great question.
It's the point where the customer wants to do it. They're like demanding that they pay more. I think the more brands sort of tap into this, this is kind of a logical, emotional feeling type stuff, the better.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect point to end our episode. Thank you so much, Mark. This has been such a joyful and insightful chat. So thank you again for being on the podcast.
Cool. It's been fun chat. Great to chat with you. Thanks.